Has a lot of issues with the surveillance program and issues with the FBI as well. Kentucky Senator Rand Paul is here, and nice to see you. Looked like winter was coming there. That picture from Kellyanne Conway. Thank you for being here. I know you have long-standing issues with the FISA program. That to the side, do you support the release of the memo? Should we see it?
Absolutely. The American public needs to see this, because we need to know, was an entire investigation of a president based on an accusation from a campaign opposition research? If that's what we're basing an investigation on, and people are talking about on the Democrat side trying to topple a president over a campaign research, that's a big problem.
No senator, Republican or Democrat, has seen this 4-page memo. That's my understanding.
That's right. We
correct?
requested to see it, and we were denied.
They rebuffed you. Do you respect that decision?
Well, yeah, I mean, but I'm glad. I would be upset if I didn't know it was coming out. I know it's now going to come out. I wanted to see it because I wanted to know what was in it, and I want to tie all the strings together. There's been a lot of discussion about bias at the FBI and bias in the intelligence community. And to me, the reason why it's so important is this isn't your grandfather's intelligence community. This community can soak up every phone conversation you've ever made, every phone call between foreign countries, all your email, all of your everything can be soaked up by the intelligence community. So we need to have controls in case there are people of bias.
I think we can all agree it's enormously powerful, this law itself. Nancy Pelosi thinks it's bogus, and she said as much right here.
First of all, it's a bogus memo. It's not based on fact, but it does reference highly classified intelligence matters. Now we see that he's even altered the memo, so it's to make matters worse. If he were to release that memo, he would not only be endangering our country, but he would also be violating the rules of the Congress of the United States.
He's talking about Devin Nunes. It's our understanding some edits were made. They were grammatical changes, not factual changes. Is that your understanding?
I think that's sort of a misdirection campaign. This is really about, so let's say the memo says that Andrew McCabe somehow was involved with using this memo, this Russian dossier, to get a warrant for the Trump campaign. That's important. It's also important to know that Andrew McCabe's wife was a Democrat running for office connected to the Clinton machine. And we can't have bias in the middle. The whole idea is, you know, should the FBI be inserting themselves into a presidential election? First, they came out with evidence that was damaging to Clinton, and then they come out with evidence, you know, that they're investigating the Trump campaign. Maybe the FBI shouldn't be, you know, real vocal or public during presidential elections. Well, maybe the FBI shouldn't be deciding our elections.
To that end, you wrote a letter yesterday to Christopher Wray, head of the FBI. You're asking a couple significant questions about, well, Page and Strzok, these high-ranking FBI agents. Here's part of what you said on screen. If openly biased agents such as Strzok and Page still have access to classified databases, one might argue that the FBI's internal controls are inadequate. The questions you ask are fundamental. Who gets to see the information? Who delivers it? How do you know within the FBI who has done this?
Right.
How do you solve that?
Well, see, we've had this big debate in Congress, and we had it about 2 weeks ago. Unfortunately, before the discussion of this memo came out, we had a debate over whether or not we should have more controls. The FBI says, trust us, we'll always do the right thing. And most FBI agents are good people, so they do the right thing. But what happens when you get biased agents like Strzok and Page, whose goal is to bring down President Trump or prevent him from winning the election? That's why what I've asked for, and the reform that many of us have asked for, is that when they want to search the database, so if you have two people who hate Donald Trump working at the FBI, they can't just search the database. We want them to ask a judge for permission.
Why, you want to go to court in order to get that?
Absolutely, because then if it's biased... Is that the only way
to prevent it, or is there an internal system that you would respect?
The internal systems just don't work. I mean, we had evidence from 2013 that NSA agents were looking at their wives' and girlfriends' phone calls. So that shouldn't happen. That's why if you have a judge, it would never happen. If you have internal controls, the question is, how good are your internal controls? And then the question is, will they sweep it under the rug if there's been an abuse of the system?
So you would require Peter Strzok and Lisa Page to go to a judge in order to access the FISA database?
I would require all FBI agents to do it for domestic searches. If they're going to search American, if they want to look at Bill Hemmer's name in the database, by golly, a journalist's name in the database, you're probably in the database. Realize this, that if you've ever communicated with a correspondent overseas, you are probably in this database. It's not just about terrorists, it's about everybody else that are presumably innocent.
We'll see what answer you get from Christopher Wray.
Thanks.
Thank you, Senator. Rand Paul here in New York. Sandra, what's next?